The drop in property values for Toronto condos in some cases are drastic when you look at what has just sold, even in the last 7 days, and compared to what has sold earlier on in 2023, 2022, in some cases, even last year or last month. And moreover, if you go back a bit further, some of the sales we're seeing, even as of this last 7 days, are down to 2020, 2019, 2018 levels, as I've covered many times in the past. So in today's video, that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at sales from just this last 7 days. We're not going to go back much further, but we're going to go through sales that have occurred in Toronto these last 7 days and show you in detail, with using specific sales, how much exact comparable units we're selling for last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, and what you can take away from the market. Without further ado, let's start. All right, let's start by covering some examples. For instance, this sale in 21 Whitmer, unit 1801. It sold for $702,000. And by the way, all the sales we're going to go through in this video are just from this past week. So it sold very recently. At the time of recording of this video, it's June 16th. Anywhere from June 9th to June 16th, those are the sales we're covering. And $702,000, a 1+1, 2 washroom, around $690. This is $692. I think these are a bit lower, I think 688, but nonetheless 4 square feet here and there. The Cinema Tower, 21 Whitmer, we've discussed this building in the past. It's a pretty average building, slightly above average perhaps. This was the unit. We're not going to get too much into what the unit looks like, but this is pretty much it. And for today's property values in downtown, at $702,000 at 690 square feet is still relatively high. But just watch what the same exact unit comparable sold for a couple of years ago. Because this is 1801, so any other unit that ends with 01, putting aside interior conditions and no considerations when we have adjustments for interior conditions aside, everything else about the 01s in this building will be the same in terms of floor plan size, window space, all that. And bam, we have unit 4301, which sold for $925,000. This sold in 2022, the peak of the Toronto and GTA real estate market. Once again, a 1+1, 2 washrooms, 692 square feet, same exact square footage. Now, this was 4301, so 30 stories higher, and obviously there's some accounting that goes for that, right? In an abstract, the 1801 and this one, when you do the adjustments, this should go for more than 1801. But that one sold for $702,000. This sold for $925,000. It should not go for $225,000 more. When it comes to making adjustments for floors, you account for it anything from $750 to $1,500 maximum per floor. And we see from the interior of this unit that sold for $225,000 more than what we just went through. It's the same exact floor plan, just with different finishes. But as I said, I don't purely go based upon what I see online or what I read on paper on this channel. I also use my experience as an active Toronto realtor who, perhaps not to toot my own horn, but I'm probably the most active in terms of condos across the city. And what I can tell you is from my own experience representing buyers and sellers, we're seeing much of the same trend. Let me cover this example for you. This is 16 Bonnycastle Street, unit 1402. Sold for $674,000 from the asking price of $499. Clearly a offer night bidding method that actually was successful and worked. This is the rarity in today's market. Oftentimes, I would say 8 out of 10 times, this selling method, this listing method actually fails. Nonetheless, it managed to sell for $674,000. These units are really beautiful units. And if you've watched my videos, even in the past year, this unit should look very familiar to you. But it's a beautiful corner unit, has panoramic views of the city. You have the east, you have the west, you have the north, you have northern, western, and southern views, right? You have some water views. And this listing, I think, fails to really capture the best views of the city, which is the northern views, where you have the whole city landscape. Well, in 16 Bonnycastle, a building I've covered many times on this channel for good and for bad, I sold a unit. I was representing the seller just last August in this same exact building that we see the sale of 1402, and I sold an exact unit like 1402. I sold a unit that ended with 02 last August, which was unit 1702. And just from last August to now, we see a drastic drop in property values. I sold this unit for $750,000, and 1402 just sold for $674,000. This is a almost $80,000 drop in property values just in 1 year, August of 2024 to now. So in some cases, we don't need to go back all the way to 2022 to see how much prices have dropped in a drastic manner, might I add. More so, we can just go simply back to last year. And really for some other purchases we've had this year so far, even in the last month, we're getting units 10 to 15K less than the month previous. Now, this obviously causes a question amongst buyers. Why should I buy now if the prices are going to be lower in 3, 6, 7 months? And listen, as a new philosophy, I do not forecast and I do not work with buyers who are trying to time the market. If you come to me, you have already decided that right now is the right time for you to make that decision, or you have a plan within the next 6 to 8 months. So I can never comment on, hey, you should buy now, prices are perfect, or hey, don't buy now, prices are going to go down further. I'm not going to say neither of those things. I'm just here to assist you and help you once you have already made that buying decision. You don't go to a barber and ask them, should I cut my hair? You already have made that decision to cut your hair when you go to the barber. So the point here is, that's a good question. A lot of buyers ask, and a prudent question. You shouldn't be buying. If you're flexible, there's no need to buy now, but always be wary of timing the market. Just saying so. We have this unit in 30 Roehampton, unit 308, sold for $830,000, $899,000 asking price. I actually saw this unit in person. I showed it to one of my buyers. And once again, not to sound like I'm repetitively saying the same thing, but I have to stress across that I make these determinations based on what I'm also doing on the ground every day. So we saw this unit. It was a beautiful unit, had 483 square feet of terrace space. The finishes were definitely peculiar. Like they had this weird bench where the den is, which is very creative. I'll grant them that. It's creative use of the den. You don't obviously see these like high school type or picnic park type benches being inserted in the den. It definitely raised an eyebrow, and not necessarily in a bad way. It's memorable, but nonetheless, we saw this when it was listed at $899. We decided not to go with it for different reasons, but it's sold for now $830. Unit 308 in 30 Roehampton, which is a LEED certified building, a building I like quite a bit. One of the better buildings in Midtown Toronto and around the Yonge and Egg area. We see the same exact unit, once again, an 08, right? Because when it ends with the last 2 digits, 95% of the time it's the same exact floor plan, same exact exposure, same exact almost everything. The only difference is once again being interior condition and if they have parking or locker or not. But nonetheless, this unit 1508 sold for $810,000 in 2020. So we see a sale that just happened this week is all the way back, is harkening all the way back to what units in this building for that same exact subject sold property were going for in 2020, 5 years ago. And might I add, 308 had parking and had this 480 square feet terrace. 1508, which sold for 20K less in 2020, had no parking and had no 400 square feet terrace. So when you do the deductions, yes, this sold for 20K less on the headline number, but when you account for the fact that it didn't have parking and it didn't have a almost 500 square feet terrace, essentially 308 becomes even a better deal at $830,000. So hopefully that put across to you how much property values have fallen since some sales in 2022. I mean, the drastic drop in condo prices in some of these buildings, and how in some cases, if you go back a bit further, prices are down to 2020 levels. But as I've covered before, really 2019, 2018 in some cases. What does this mean? Well, as always, follow me for more, subscribe for more updates on the market. You can join my exclusive WhatsApp group chat, by the way, in the link of which is in the description. And yeah, for any buying, selling, leasing inquiries, definitely get in touch with me. No one knows the Toronto condo market as well as I do. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.